if you're always the one reaching out to other people, that's an imbalance. If you find yourself, like when you enter new rooms, new places, it feels like what I find, there's either the welcome wagon, the ones that are right in your face, and those are usually the gossip girls who are trying to get information. But it can also be like if you just kind of stay in your own lane and people never reach out to say hi to you and make that effort, I think you're in the wrong room, because people who aren't afraid of rejection put themselves out there. And I think you've put yourself out there a number of times. And I think it's important to recognize what you're getting back. And also, like if there's a hesitation, for me, that's been usually people care. Like they won't say hi to me in front of other people because they care what other people think. And they're overthinking what I'm going to say. Because they don't know what they're going to say, and so they feel uncomfortable in general. And so that's not someone who has constantly put themselves out there to find out more about themselves and other people. And I just find the more I reach out to people, the less I receive, in the way that you can just see it. You can just, some people you can see like they just don't like you. They may say hi, they may like force a smile, but you can see that they'd rather you're not talking to them. It's something I've recognized a number of times. It's not like a friendly reception, and the conversation is like they're tolerating you. Pay attention to when you feel like people are tolerating you. And some people will be friendly. See, I get this from women. I get women who just tolerate me, and then I get men who they want to be around me, but they can't match me. Like they can't match my energy. They're not as ambitious as I am. They're not as driven. They're not as disciplined, but they want to be around me. And so like when I require them to match my energy, that's when they tend to back up. And so I meet a lot of men that are just delusional about what they have to offer, and because somebody else has tolerated it or accepted it, or there's a lot of people out there that just are not in tune to how hurt they actually are, and how that's creating some sort of delusion about who they are. And so this is something you have to recognize for yourself, because I would just keep going up to people because I'm friendly, and that was my excuse. I'm friendly, that makes sense. But like it gets to a point where it gets draining, because now you're especially if this is like in a workplace, now you're kind of like, you've already made that initial hello and friendliness, and now so like you're friendly, so if you pull that back, now they think you're being unfriendly, and they're not looking at how their behavior is affecting your reaction. They're not looking at how you're seeing how they're hot and cold. They're not accounting for the fact that you see who they're hanging around with, and that the more you get to know them, you can see their destructive behaviors within themselves, and so you don't want that to spill on all the hard work that you've done. And so a lot of people don't see all those factors. They're not in the numbers, they're in their emotions. And so it's easier for them to feel bad for themselves and make excuses about you. And they're aiming their resentment and blame and where they are at life at you. And so you're now the new target. So like you could be as friendly as you want to some people, but they just, a lot of people are just in connection because they think they can get something from you. And then there's some people who could learn something from you, but they're so angry about who you are and who they aren't, that they're so in their box of control, where they're just they're angry. They're angry that you've made choices that they have not made. And you'll be thinking like, I don't know what you're talking about, because some of these people will have a bigger house, they'll have more support financially and socially, and like they're targeting you. And it's because everyone looks at success differently, and some people think like, I just need to get these numbers, which is size of your house, dollars in your bank account, and sometimes it's not even like that big of a deal. It's just more than what you have currently. And what they like about you and hate about them is like, you have done the work to become independent of self. And the thing is that they don't realize, like, you still need support. You're still learning. You're still growing. You fall. You have to get back up. Like, you got to where you are because you have worked so hard, and you kept putting yourself out there. You've kept being humiliated, rejected, but it's not even just in people and dynamics. It's like in life. You keep trying. You don't give up. Giving up is not an option for you because you want something better in your life and you know that it takes you to create it. And so these people have really kind of resounded to a victim mentality where, you know, they're expecting other people to do the work for them. And this is also like believing in, you know, systems that are delusional, thinking that God's going to come save them, or if they just, you know, think positive enough over a long period of time that they can manifest these things into reality, but they're literally doing it from their couch. They're not getting into the action. And so they're relying on outside sources for their information. And so for me, when I become more independent, I have to do the work myself. And while I remove these people from my life, when I started removing family and partners and coworkers and people I consider friends, like it was just me doing everything. And so I had no choice but to learn. Like I had recently this year, I had to fix the band on my dryer. I had to fix that. And because while I was fixing it, I dropped something down the back chute where the lint trap is. And so I added more work to my day, and I had to remove the backing now to try to get that. And then I didn't have the tool to get that. So I had to go to Canadian Tire and get like a magnetic stick to try to bend it, but it wouldn't bend. And it was just like one thing after the other, but I still stayed to it. A lot of people are very flighty with their energy, and if they don't get a quick positive, they jump to a fast negative. And so like, this must not be for me because I can't do it quick. Or they get so caught up in the failure of the project that the feelings are too strong, like the rejection from the lack of success. And this is just basic stuff. It feels like too much. So they end up doing nothing, right? This is like when I remember like I was deep in my depression, and this was even in the summer, and I'm like, my lawn is growing so fast, well, probably in the spring, because it goes really fast in the spring and it slows down in the summer. And I just didn't have the energy. I was so exhausted. And I finally went out there to cut it. And of course it was like, I was trying to get it done early in the day, get it done and over with. And it was still wet. And something said, it's gonna stick. And it did, because I ignored my instinct, and I did it anyways. And so when I went to go turn the mower over on its side, all the fuel leaked into the air filter, and it wouldn't start when I went to go try to get it. I'm like, and I didn't know that. Nobody told me that, because nobody's told me anything. I've had to learn. My father did not teach me these things, because he has not experienced these things himself. And so, or maybe he has and he just didn't share the information. I just know that I'm having to learn everything on my own as an adult, and it's extremely hard. And I know that I had to figure stuff out like that as a child. And why I bypassed my childhood and was right into a parent, because there's a lot of things that my parents weren't willing to see, and I had to endure and tolerate as a child. And so I went inside, because I was like, I figured out what had happened. I'm like, it was all wet, and I'm like, no. And previously, if something like that would happen, it would be like a day, a week, something, and I would be, fuck this. And I'd be like, if you don't want me to do this, I'm not going to do this, because it felt like the universe was against me, right? I'm like, and so like if you kind of use that messaging, like it's not happening for you because the universe doesn't, like, it's not for you. You got to be careful with that, because you can walk away from a lot of situations that you just had to work a little bit harder. And so recognizing what's for you and what's not is important, and being able to bring yourself back down to reality and say, you know what, that building was not for me, but this house could be for me, right? And so not just giving in because I experienced like, targeting within a community like I did in a workplace, a home. It resembled my home. And acknowledging where that was a small building, that was a small community. Yes, that could be, I'm trying to decide if that's where I'm at, if that's the same sort of mentality, because it is highly concentrated in a lot of, in my opinion, delusional belief systems. But I'm also wondering, like, if I move from this house, where am I going to move to where it's going to be that much different? Because it's happening all over the world. And so I can't imagine that just me moving my house is going to change that. And so acknowledging that some things just need your patience. And so the frustration that you're feeling, or you could have been feeling, or these people could be feeling, is the fact that you weren't given patience. No one taught you how to take a deep breath, take a break, take a nap, and come back at it. Instead, you're maybe like just told, like, you're not good at this, it's not for you, you're not really a mechanic, so why are you trying to fix your lawnmower? A lot of fucked up stuff to get you to stop because they didn't want to show that they never started. So be aware of who you're listening to and be aware of how you take that on to yourself and apply that to yourself, because it's someone else's beliefs and lack of information that they failed and refused to gain that now could be bled onto you. So pay attention to that.